What's on your mind?
So, what's on your mind? We got a question today from a listener. Let's have a listen.
Hi guys, my name is Christine. Loving the podcast you guys have been doing so far. So my question for you today is with regards to barefoot running. I just wanted to tell you about a book that I read called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. So what I found quite interesting is that running shoes today could be weakening our muscles in our feet than strengthening them. And various studies that were done and written about in the book were actually proved that the more cushioned the shoe, the less protection it provides. If we were born without shoes, are designed to walk or run, and naturally forefoot strike, then why would heel striking in modern footwear be of any benefit to us? And I'd just like to know Barry's thoughts on after reading the book, and what do you take from it? Thanks, guys.
Cool. So the book Born to Run, I haven't read it myself, so I'm definitely going to be listening to Barry's thoughts on this. I was referred to this book as well by a couple of runners, and really being one of those staple books for anyone who is serious on running. Don't know why I haven't read it yet. But yeah, I believe fascinating tale about a tribe that basically showcases how the human body is built to run. Now, in terms of the technique, Barry, talk us through it.
Yeah, so I'm glad that this was brought up. Thank you, Christine, for the question. This is a hotly debated topic in the world of hardcore runners, right? The minimalist versus the traditional Nike sneaker. And like you say, this book follows a tribe in Kenya. And so when you think long distance running, often you think of countries like Kenya and Ethiopia because they've developed and bred these incredible athletes who can run for long periods of time and incredible speeds. And what this book aims to do, as far as I remember, is kind of follow their journey and why they became the kind of running powerhouse that they are. And this tribe, they used to run upwards of 100 kilometers on just their bare feet, running across dunes, rocks, sand, all sorts of crazy stuff. And running at such a level and at such a skill level that it might be worth looking back at them as to how to improve our running today. As Christine says, today's running shoes tend to have a lot of cushioning at the back of the heel, and that often speaks to a lot of the road running that we do as runners. With so much pressure going on your feet every single time you hit the road, a lot of these shoes have developed these heels to kind of cushion that and help runners be more comfortable. What the theory says is that by doing that, we've kind of changed the way that humans run entirely from what they used to do, and are maybe doing more harm than good. By cushioning that artificially, we've changed the way we run from, instead of running on the balls of our feet, which is what our ancestors used to run on, a lot of runners are running on their heel first, and their heel hits the ground and then their toe, as opposed to running on the ball of their feet. That can point, it's a bit controversial, but it can point to some knee injuries, some back injuries, etc. from that change in the running gait. And so what a lot of the minimalist shoe movements comes from that book. Like that book is as you say, the staple for that kind of thinking. And these minimalist shoes try to artificially recreate that barefoot feeling while not tearing up the bottom of your soles. So it gives you a tiny little bit of protection to help you run on cobblestones or rocks or whatever the story is. But it tries to recreate that world where back in the day you ran just on your bare feet. In my opinion, I haven't tried any of the barefoot shoes in very much detail. I haven't really done any long runs in any of them. I think they're interesting, but for me, I would struggle even just to run a 10K in those shoes because of how conditioned my feet are to the shoes that I've been running in for so long. So it's one of those things where it takes a long time to get used to it, and if you made the decision to switch to barefoot running, it would take you a couple months to get to a stage where you actually felt comfortable enough to run a long distance in it. And so it is a hotly contested debate. It almost becomes like a tribal war between the guys, depends on what they believe in. And this book caused a lot of controversy because of that, right? There's been a lot of scientific studies that have been trying to debunk some of the science in that book. And so as far as the science goes, it's very hard to say either way. I think it's an interesting experiment to run, but you have to realize it's going to take you a long time to get used to it if you're going to give it a go. Chad, have you ever tested any of these minimalist shoes, or have any of your friends done it?
So I've personally never tested out a minimalist shoe. However, I was working with somebody before who used to, run into the office and walk into the office with them. So I'm talking about the shoes that have splits between the toes.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people socially don't accept these shoes based on the way they look.
They're the Crocs of 2019, I think.
100%. But I mean, certainly the feedback that I got from him was very positive on it. If I look on his Strava at his run times and that kind of thing, I definitely don't see him being disadvantaged by them at all. So certainly some credibility in this way of thinking. I would have to investigate it a bit more myself. But something I find really interesting and fairly topical is the 2-hour marathon break that happened a couple of months ago. And technology being quite a focus point on this feat. Let's talk about the technology in the shoes, because I believe this would maybe not have been possible without those shoes.
Definitely, and that's the other side of the coin, right? So the guys who are not on the minimalist train, their argument will be, why should we stick to something that's so-called natural, where we can actually improve performance theoretically with technology in those shoes, right? And so a lot of these shoes are very carefully engineered, very carefully designed to get the maximum force and the maximum spring out of each step to give those runners a little bit of extra coverage on the ground. And that really does open up these opportunities for example, the marathon to be broken in 2 hours, which is a tremendous feat. And so this debate again as to what is natural versus what is like modern is a debate we've seen across multiple different areas and multiple different ways of thinking. Should we stick to something just because of what our ancestors used to do, even though we've invented technology, invented ways to improve on that? And do we understand the long-term implications of such technology? Or and that's kind of the debate that a lot of people stand on is what is natural these days, right? Because if you think about it, a marathon isn't really natural. It was a sport invented a long time ago, but it's not what we used to do. And so is anything natural these days? All of our man-made stuff is artificial and has kind of been pushed forward by technology. And so why should this be any different? What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, definitely a fascinating debate. I can certainly see both sides of the story. I think I'm going to lean on the technology side of this one just because I haven't tried those shoes out, but I'll certainly give them a go. However, I'm not entirely sure that they're feasible over long distances. Very interesting one. I'll have to read the book eventually. Lots to do on my to-do list. Hopefully I'll follow through with some of those things very soon. Across the